Hello, and welcome to Unbiased News, your source for unbiased news coverage, where we inform you of both sides and always give you our honest opinion. I'm your host, Anna Lee. This week's topic is the American education system, in particular, the overuse of standardized testing within our schools. Our American version of standardized testing was founded in 1845 by the great compromiser Horace Mann to help with the massive wave of immigrants at the time. The tests were meant to judge both American and foreign students to find a baseline to help both learn at the same pace and level. The standardized test was a part of the American education system ever since, only really becoming of great importance during times such as the Cold War, when America feared that the Soviets had passed us in areas like math and science due to the launch of Sputnik in 1957. Finally, in the 2000s, we had President Bush's No Child Left Behind policy, meant to help equalize students across the country with yearly standardized testing. Now that we know where the tests came from and their modern purpose, let's analyze both sides. As a student, I know that testing isn't fun, but there is an important part of learning in this, both for students and teachers. Herbert Wahlberg says that standardized testing is a way to go, because he insists that standardized exams are adequate at measuring a student's knowledge, skills, and understanding because they are objective, fair, and efficient. He establishes that the fact that these tests are randomized sampling of everything that a student learns within the year. He does, however, concede that while these tests are efficient, they may not be everything that we want in an exam. On another note, the College of Education and Health Professions within the University of Arkansas has a research study headed by Caleb P. Rose and his colleagues. They questioned various teachers and educational staff within their states about how they felt on standardized testing. The focus groups overall said that they thought the concept was very well done. It aided them in being able to work together to better understand their students and have an easier time of sharing information. This was able to be found out through broad questions that the groups were given, such as whether teachers found the Arkansas benchmark test helpful, whether they thought the testing was whether the tests were preventing them from teaching creatively, or if they felt that they spent too much time in class prepping. Overall, Rose found that the teachers very much like the exams. It gave them useful information on how their students did, both in learning the material and being able to infer information from it. They also pointed out that having the same basic information allowed them to share their information together and work, allowing them to not just teach their own children, but the children in other classes. Lastly, one of the main reasons people seem to be against standardized testing is the harsh consequences, though these harsh consequences only come in certain situations. Teachers being fired or schools being shut down is two of these extremes. And Smarnick researched what happens when these schools, and he claims that closing the schools and continually supporting them because would not be worth the effort, because shutting down the schools would allow children to no longer be subjected to schools with long track records of failure and high probabilities of continued failure. Fear of closure might generate some improvement within the low-performing schools, and closure makes room for replacements. He illustrates the benefits of closing schools or threatening to, portraying it as a just act that gives them time to clean up their act and, if they should fail, give a clear and easy-to-follow solution. While he does admit that there are disadvantages to the solution, such as having to redistrict and move kids and teachers around, but overall he views this solution as a good one. Now then, on the other hand, standardized tests seem to be very far loathed by teachers, administrators, students, even the basic public seems to dislike standardized testing. According to Philip Harris, the executive director of Association for Educational Communications and Technology, standardized testing is limiting what our children are taught in schools. Harris and his colleagues point out that teachers have to focus on teaching the information that the tests may have, instead of teaching valuable characteristics like creativity, critical thinking, resilience, motivation, persistence, and curiosity. The exams focus on the memorization of facts that a student has learned throughout the year, and leaves little time for teachers to focus on helping students become better people, harder workers, and all-around more motivated students. This could do damage later on in life, where these students need to be able to think on a more critical level and not just memorize something. That's a very specialized point of view of standardized testing, more related to teachers and a select group of parents. But the general audience also seems to think negatively about these tests. Many political and satirical cartoons and images litter the internet. This Calvin and Hobbes cartoon, for instance. Calvin and Hobbes is a good example of a satirical cartoon or comic. We've all seen them. It was created by Bill Watterson. The young boy and his tiger are easily spotted on all media, from the internet to newspapers, books, and bumper stickers. After finishing an exam, Calvin writes a long-winded, harsh letter to his teacher, stating that he only memorized the facts temporarily, and they'll be gone once he leaves the classroom, and that the teacher is essentially useless since he has yet to learn anything other than how to cheat the system. Then, breaking the fourth wall, Calvin turns to the audience and says, "They said the satisfaction of teaching makes up for the lousy pay." This is an easy representation of how many people see the education system. Its over-reliance on standardized testing really angers a lot of people. A lot of the general population seems to have grown tired of the constant exams, saying they don't test what is important. They don't aid students' learning, and they even take away from the joy and meaning of teaching. The other side says that while the tests aren't perfect, they test what the children learn. They allow teachers to more easily find what students need help on, and the tests make it easier for teachers. Here at Unbiased News, we say that, while we don't see it in the near future, the test makers and leaders of education need to work together to create a new form of exam, better than our current version. Until then, we believe the emphasis on standardized exams should be more relaxed. Give the teachers and staff a bit more room to teach the students other objectives and lessons that they can't find in today's classroom. We know that it's hard to find something to evaluate all students, and compromises are required. However, we believe that you can do it. We know that improving this will be a problem and a challenge, but working together, we can better our education system. This is Anna Lee from Unbiased News, signing off.